Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a legendary management philosophy, and we're going to completely flip how you view it using Rodolfo H. de Oliveira's 2026 Systems Theory Framework on Organizational Intelligence. We are talking about adaptive capacity and how it perfectly explains the massive gap between what companies say they want from their top talent and what actually happens once they hire them.
Let's dive straight into this iconic quote. You've probably seen it on 100 LinkedIn posts or in countless management presentations. Attributed to Steve Jobs, it really perfectly captures the modern desire to unleash distributed intelligence. And honestly, the logic is sound, right? You want their ideas, their innovation, their judgment. But is it really that simple?
Well, what's super fascinating is the history behind those words. If you actually followed the sourcing trail, the version we all know is basically a composite. Quote tracking sites point to a 1982 InfoWorld interview and a 1996 Fresh Air NPR interview with Terry Gross as possible origins, but the exact wording differs across citations. Actually, one version reported to be much closer to his verbatim phrasing goes like this: "We figure we're paying them all this money, their job is to figure out what to do and tell us." But regardless of the exact historical phrasing, the underlying truth has become universally accepted in modern business.
That brings us to a massive paradox, though. If everyone is incredibly smart, highly autonomous, and telling the company what to do, how does the organization avoid absolute chaos? Well, here is our roadmap to figure that out. We'll cover the intelligence problem, defining adaptive capacity, the four dimensions, gravity and structural integrity, and finally, the Jobs paradox solved.
Section 1. The organizational intelligence problem. We have to start by confronting the very real limits of centralized control. Historically, industrial management treated the organization like a linear machine. You decompose it, you standardize the parts, and you direct the whole thing from the top down. But today, we're living in a hyper-connected, incredibly fast-paced reality. We have to start seeing the modern enterprise as a complex, systemic organism. In an organism, the parts are deeply interdependent. A local action alters conditions everywhere else, meaning coherence has to emerge continuously from the system itself, not just from some formal design imposed by a boss.
So the crucial point is what happens when a complex organism experiences a shock. Let's imagine a supply chain disruption. A major supplier just goes down. Immediately, procurement starts checking alternative sources. Engineering begins evaluating different materials. Finance is running models on the premium costs. And the commercial team is frantically reassessing customer commitments. Each function is acting on a completely legitimate part of the same event. But nobody encounters the whole picture. You have highly competent, really smart people making locally sound decisions that can actually result in a fragmented, disastrous enterprise response. Why? Because their brilliant local judgments are literally colliding.
Section 2. Defining adaptive capacity. This is exactly how we solve that intelligence problem.
Adaptive capacity is formally defined as the emergent property of a complex social system to remain intelligently related to changing reality while preserving systemic coherence. Okay? In plain English, it's the ability of your team to react intelligently to reality without needing a centralized leader to constantly tell them how to do it. And note, this isn't just about agility or decentralization in isolation. An organization can be highly decentralized and completely fragmented. Adaptive capacity is the specific ability to repeatedly bring distributed knowledge into coordinated action.
Which brings us to a fascinating question, and really the crux of our explainer today. How exactly do we make sense of that famous quote through this specific lens? How do we build the organizational architecture to actually let smart people tell us what to do without breaking the company?
Section 3. The four irreducible dimensions. Let's look at the elements of a living architecture.
According to the 2026 source material, these four elements absolutely must function together. First, you have the mechanics of movement. That's how information and consequences propagate. Second, the mechanics of structure, which gives that interaction durable form through roles and boundaries. Third, the dynamics of evolution, using autonomy and diversity to renew the system. And finally, integrative capacity. Think about it. Hiring smart people really just plugs into that evolution part. But if you lack structure and movement, their brilliant ideas literally can't travel. And without integrative capacity, the organization has no way to make sense of them. Now, integrative capacity is the real secret sauce here. In complex social systems, natural adaptive dynamics operate through conscious agents, us, people. Integrative capacity is the deeply human, cognitively grounded ability of the organization to hold conflicting, brilliant ideas in tension and forge them into a unified direction. It's the cognitive scaffolding that allows the enterprise to say, okay, engineering says X and finance says Y, how do we bring these distributed perspectives into a coordinated judgment that serves the whole system?
Section 4. Gravity and structural integrity. This is all about shared orientation.
De Oliveira introduces a crucial concept here called gravity. Gravity acts as the shared purpose and strategic intent. Because look, people have good ideas all the time, but what makes them the right ideas for the company? Gravity gives situated participants a common basis for judgment. It ensures that when those smart people tell you what to do, it actually aligns with the enterprise's ultimate goals. It allows them to act autonomously on what is totally clear and then efficiently escalate the really complex trade-offs to the people who have the perspective to integrate them.
When gravity and those four dimensions are all working in harmony, you achieve what the framework calls structural integrity. This is an absolutely critical concept. It means you have a load-bearing condition where information, authority, judgment, responsibility, action, and consequence all remain tightly coupled. Simply put, when you distribute authority out to those smart people, the responsibility and the consequences for their actions don't just vanish into the ether. They remain accountable, and the whole system actually learns.
Section 5. The Jobs Paradox Solved. Let's bring this all the way back to our tech founder's famous philosophy.
The philosophy only actually works if you treat it as a systemic configuration, not just an isolated hiring tactic. Step 1, yes, hire smart, autonomous people for evolution. But Step 2, provide them with gravity, that shared orientation. Step 3, build the mechanics of movement and structure so their distributed knowledge can actually propagate through the company. And finally, Step 4, cultivate the integrative capacity to turn their conflicting brilliance into coordinated systemic action. If you miss any of those steps, your smart people are just going to be making brilliant local decisions that slowly tear the enterprise apart.
So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to reflect on regarding your own organization. Are you just stockpiling smart people and hoping for the best? Or are you actively building the adaptive capacity, that critical relational architecture required to actually listen to them and coordinate their intelligence? It's a massive shift from just accumulating talent to cultivating a highly intelligent system. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope it completely changes how you view the architecture of your team.